It is the final weekend in the GT2 European Series, powered by Pirelli. Welcome to Barcelona, welcome to the Circuit de Catalunya, and race one shortly to get underway. The cars having been released towards the circuit, and the grid will take shape very shortly. The championship, last time out, decided in Pro-Am in favour of Broniak Formanek and Stefan Rossina. They are here, but not in GT2 trim. They're going to race in the Lamborghini Super Trofeo, so it gives the way clear for some different winners potentially in Pro-Am. Am, though, rather dominated this year by Philippe Pret. 8 class wins, he's already won that championship. But the real interest surrounds this car. Into GT2 comes the new Ginetta G56 GT2. Lawrence Tomlinson, the man behind Ginetta, driving it with his son Freddie, and it's going to be really interesting to see how that 6.3 litre supercharged V8 engine car, 800 horsepower before any balance performance adjustments it's capable of. It's going to be interesting to see how that gets on, and it's another boost for the GT2 concept that people are building new cars. David Anderson and Joe Osborne are trackside, and onto the grid comes Lawrence Tomlinson, the man himself.
What a way to test your product is to enter it in a race. Mike Simpson there. Ginetta CEO just trying to listen in. Just seeing, got time to jump out on the grid. But yeah, all those stats you were sprouting there, David. I'm sold. I'll have one, please. Beautiful looking, beautiful sounding. And yeah, I'm a huge Ginetta fan, so I am openly biased. But this is almost what happened in GT4. It took a while for GT4 as a class to get going. Ginetta were involved, and then suddenly an entry opened up for Ginetta in GT2, and maybe we're going to see the same now, and this will be the catalyst to grow this class.
And it's also another manufacturer that signed up to the SRO GT Academy. So joining the likes of Mercedes AMG and Maserati, for example, to help for next year, the winner of that academy to go forward into a fully funded GT3 seat. Philippe Pret is the Am champion. He's also there on the front row of the grid with another class pole position, and yet another point that goes with it. Pret having driven solo all season, and he has been very much the man to beat, even when he's had bad luck, even when he's had the extra time to serve in the pits through the success penalties. He's always been able to bounce back seemingly and come out looking very impressive indeed. We've talked about how impressive it is to have the Ginetta on the grid. Lawrence Tomlinson and Stefan Rattel are on the grid, and so too is Alex Legui.
Stefan, as well as the Ginetta, making its global debut here in Barcelona. You've got some very big news. Tell us more.
No, we're very, very pleased that Ginetta is joining the GT2 category, as you can see here. And even more importantly, that they're joining our new GT Academy. Not totally new, because we introduced it in the French GT Championship this year with a great success with a young driver, age 19, that was a big prize to go to GT World Challenge. And this is for next year an even bigger prize, because the winner will get a full season with an AMG GT team in GT World Challenge Endurance, including the 24 hours of Spa, all paid for. So it's a very, very big prize, thanks to the contribution, of course, of Mercedes AMG, of Maserati, and of Ginetta, joining on a high. And I'm very pleased to be here with Lawrence, who's driving his own car like I have to do to promote the series. GT2 is a little family for the time being, but it's set to expand, and I'm sure Ginetta is making a good choice. And they've been with us at the start of GT4. They've been instrumental to the success of GT4. To have them now in GT2 is a very good sign.
What an incredible partnership, and what an incredible prize. Lawrence, just how proud are you, not only to be behind the wheel, but for this partnership?
No, it's good. I mean, we've worked with Stefan and SRO for, well, feels like forever, my friend. And, you know, Ginetta brings so many people into the sport. We have our Junior Series, we have our GT Academy and our GTP Series. And the natural progression is GT racing with Stefan's SRO organization. Having a GT2 car is a bit of a dream for us. We're very happy with it. So yeah, we'll just see how it goes. I think he's got me out of the car to distract me because we're racing each other. So
Not only are you the owner, but also class winner, you're racing alongside Freddie as well. That must be very special.
Yeah, and I think that's what's very special about GT2 is it's a big mix of drivers, so anyone can come and do it. You've got your bronze and your silvers. But this Silver Cup thing and Academy is fantastic because it's based on the kids' ability rather than the fact they're with like a slow bronze like me or something like that. So it's all about the kids and a huge prize from Mercedes, which is fantastic.
I feel like Ginetta as well has always been synonymous with driver development and development. It's big for us as a British. It's a really big coup.
Sure, it's amazing. I mean, the Ginetta Junior grids are pretty much sold out already. If you want a Ginetta Junior car from us now, the delivery is May 26, so it's a huge success. But what we're proud about is all the people we bring into the sport, and many, many, many. If you look down the GT3 grid, there are tons. Silver that Stefan made in GT4 in British is an amazing... GT4 in British is an amazing series for people to develop before they come into this. So I think I have to get in the car soon. So I'll let you chat for longer. So
what a special moment. Congratulations. What a special moment. Stefan, what does it mean to you?
Sorry?
What does it mean to you, this partnership?
No, I mean, it's important. As I said, Ginetta is also a great partner in British GT. There's 3 series in our British GT package, and as Lauren said, a large number of GT drivers started there, and to continue with the GT2 program, it's fantastic.
Brilliant. Congratulations. Have a great race.
And the point is made that up and down this paddock, up and down many paddocks these days, you can point to people that have come from the Ginetta ranks, Ginetta Junior Racing. There's one, Lando Norris, for example, who will leap to mind. So it's not just that you race a Ginetta and you go on to be a GT driver. You know, you've got touring car champions that have come out of them, and Formula One Grand Prix winners have come that way as well.
Yeah, and it's the junior series in the world, that Ginetta Junior. Isaac Hajar, another...
That's right, he did the Winter Series, didn't he?
Exactly.
Yeah.
So it's phenomenal, and working with some of those Ginetta Junior drivers, they're at a phenomenally high level. The race continues to go, and yeah, congratulations to Rocco Coronel for winning the Ginetta Junior Championship this year with R Racing.
So we are now getting ready for the start of this first race. Stefan Rattel, as you will have gathered, is going to be in the race, but he does not start. The car that he shares will be started by Jean-Denis Delatraz, the former Grand Prix racer. There is Philippe Pret, the AM champ. He's got to serve an extra 14 seconds in the pit lane by dint of being victorious last time out, and also because he's a solo driver. Other people to carry extra time, Petrolica and Andre Rocoche. Petrolica second in AM in the championship. They get 5 extra seconds, and then in the Pro-Am competition, Alberto Di Martin and Nils Montserrat, they have a further 10. This is Roberto Pampanini, who shares with Mauro Calamia. They have had 2 race wins this year. Most wins in Pro-Am to Bronek Fumanek and Stefan Rossina, but they are, as I say, not taking part. Now, missing from pole position is Lennart Marianec and Matto Homola's KTM, and I am looking to see where it might be in the pit lane. There's one car at the top. It is also coming to note that there is one under investigation for a pit lane infringement, but that's number 214, and we do not have a 214. Might be 294.
Yeah, and that's also under investigation, so that message, not the cleanest from race control, but yeah, we are missing our pole position car.
Which therefore prompts lots of questions like why, and can it start at all, and where is it? Because if it is going to start from the pits, well, I can't see it, can't find it. So the plot thickens there. I must confess I wasn't really paying attention to who came out of the assembly area to see whether it had even got that far, but very odd. I mean, these cars qualified yesterday, so you'd have thought had there been a problem, it would have been fixed, unless it's something that suddenly appears as the cars fire up. But absolutely, we are missing the pole position car. It has a technical drama of some sort, we understand from Alex. And if they can get the car started, it will start from the pit lane. But they're going to have to get a wriggle on here, aren't they?
Yeah, that is an interesting one, and sometimes just on fire up, something overnight is broken. Of course, something needs to break at some point, but it's always frustrating when you park the car up and it's fine, and then suddenly it doesn't work. So on we go with our formation lap, the Maserati MC20 Extrema leading away, the Maserati MC20 GT2. And you could see the gold dynamic car having a huge amount of wheel spin to get the tyres up. Look how dirty it is offline there into turn one. The drivers all getting over to the racing line as quickly as they can.
So the cars go down then towards turn one. There is the Ginetta, Lawrence Tomlinson at the wheel. Lawrence doesn't do that much racing these days, but very competitive. So missing from pole is regular GT racer Lennart Marionetch. So Philippe Pret is all alone on the front row. Alberto Di Martin will start on row 2, lining up alongside Pirelli. Then you've got Roberto Pampanini, and it is another newcomer, Marius Eigner, who will be alongside with the returning Reinhard Koffler, last year's champion. Jean-Denis Delatraz, then Grand Prix racer, double Le Mans class winner, lines up on the 4th row with Lawrence Tomlinson for company. Oliver Freimuth is on the back row of the grid. He's had a AM class win this year. And another newcomer, Otto Blank, is going to line up alongside. So it's a real shame that the pole position car has not made it onto the track, and the team will be toiling frantically to try to get the car out, even if it's, you know, from the pits. The biggest problem, in a sense, though, is whether it falls off the lead lap, and I couldn't see it at the end of the pit lane, which makes me think it's still in the paddock, which makes me think it's a big problem, which makes me think it ain't going to be joining in anytime soon.
Makes me think you might be right, David, and that is a huge, huge issue and shame for that car, and they'll be working frantically, even if this now turns from a pole position race into a shakedown ahead of tomorrow's activities, is all they can take from this as the crowd get ready for these wildly frenetic GT2 cars. High horsepower, low downforce, more road car based than GT3, but more powerful than GT4, and that's why I think GT2 will succeed long term. There is a gap in the market for these cars.
So then the drivers will make that run up now towards the rolling start. They'll get themselves in the 2x2 formation, and then we are good to go racing. There is a pit window between 25 and 35 minutes. Line to line, it is 146 seconds that the cars must be in the pits for. Not stationary for all of that time, but you've got to be in the pits line to line, and then there are those 3 drivers having to serve extra time for their results last time out. So the cars now turn up through the right of 13, down the straight to 14. The Maserati pace car, as it is, will go to the pit lane. And with the pole sitting car still not prevalent in the pit lane, it looks as though that's going to be a non-starter as we are set to go racing. The lights on the gantry, as you can see, are red. The start line midway down the pit straight. We wait then for the lights to change. It's a rather untidy start, people not being side by side, so no, that race control, we'll have a look at that. But we go green, and Philippe Pret it is, who covers off the inside line, but a really brave start by Alberto Di Martin right round the outside from the second row of the grid. Now he's got to get the car anchored up, which he does, cuts across to claim the line for the corner from Pret second. Pirelli goes third, Roberto Pampanini in the Maserati fourth, and a spin in the background. That is Eigner's KTM that causes mayhem, as others like Oliver Freimuth and Lawrence Tomlinson have to scatter in avoidance. Eigner gets going, but that was a drama they could have all done without, as Alberto Di Martin leads up towards turn 4 for the first time. Good start that he made.
Really good start, and there's a great aerial illustration of balance and performance. Mercedes fast in a straight line, Maserati better in the corners, and I have to say Tomlinson and Freimuth did an amazing job to miss that spinning KTM. I thought there was going to be contact. Ginetta have made a rally car in the past, and now have got a GT2 rally car as well.
So the cars then work their way down towards turn 7 for the first time. Alberto Di Martin, it is, up front and powering his way now on towards turn 9. So we got the Mercedes ahead of the Maserati. Pirelli coming under attack, isn't he now, from Roberto Pampanini, as those cars accelerate their way down again towards turn 10. Pampanini having a look on the inside, but not able to make that move there. Through they turn then, and now look, Pret fancying his chances here of an outright win, never mind just a class win.
Yeah, well, we've seen some very aggressive defence this season from De Martin. Valencia last time out, he was great at holding his position fairly but strongly, I would add. And at the moment, it seems like the same story. And at the moment, Philip Pret trying to open up these corners to get the run. He might get a run initially on the straight, but expect that Mercedes then to start to stretch its legs in a straight line. That's where its strengths lie.
Over the timing line then goes Alberto De Martin. Philippe Pret sitting on his tail. The gap between them only a tenth of a second at the end of that opening lap of the hour. Down towards turn 1 they go. In third place then, Petrolicia. In fourth it's Pampanini and Jean-Denis Delatraz in fifth. So Delatraz becomes the next in a line of former Grand Prix racers to come into this, along with Michael Bleekemolen, who's raced it in the past. We've had David Brabham, we've had Hans Stuck, we've had Bernd Schneider, all ex-Grand Prix racers, and now Jean-Denis Delatraz, who only did 3 Grand Prix, I'll grant you, but a Grand Prix driver he was nonetheless. He's the next in that line.
Yeah, very cool formation flying as well. Maserati behind Mercedes ×2 as Pret looks to the inside and the door getting gently closed at the moment. It seems like both Maseratis are in a hurry to get past their respective Mercedes.
And the second Mercedes there, Petrolicia's car, may well be in hot water because the team manager is being summoned to the race director immediately. Now, that was the one that was under investigation for what it did leaving the pit lane, and so Petrolicia has potentially contravened some regulation. I don't think they're inviting the team manager up just to ask after his health. The leading line, though, is still pretty tightly bunched, isn't it? The leading 5 pretty much together. So as there, De Martin has to defend from Pret. You've got Licia third, Pampanini fourth, Delatraz fifth. Jean-Denis Delatraz racing this car for the first time. The Maserati GT2 out of the LP Racing stable, and a big challenge being made there. Is up into third place goes Pampanini. So having had 2 race wins this year, now finally he's cleared Petrolicia, gets on with the task of catching and passing Pret, who in the meantime is trying to do the same thing to De Martin.
Exactly. Pampanini was a race winner here last year as well in race 1 alongside, and it just seems the Mercedes has got no go. No. It looks like the traction control is way too intrusive, as now Petrolicia is going to get back past. Is he going to get both Maseratis?
That Mercedes has got some go, hasn't it? Because he's cleared Pampanini and Pret, as you say. So that Mercedes is really good in a straight line. And then you've got another Maserati in fifth of Delatraz, as now Pampanini works out where we can get past Pret. Pret and Lisa running in the AM class, as is Jean-Denis Delatraz there in the background. So very busy. Might have been the biggest grid that we've got at Barcelona, but it's certainly a good race early doors, isn't it?
Phenomenal. You can't be in the top 5 unless your car starts with an M, manufacturer-wise. Everyone flashing lights. Petrolicia knocks on that indicator by mistake going into turn 11 last lap, but used it as a passive, aggressive overtake down the pit straight on both Maseratis. Philip Pret will be starting to get wound up because he's got pace, but he can't use it because he's getting held up by these Mercedes. Slow the corner, Pampanini to the inside.
And he's also lost his class lead, hasn't he, Philippe Pret? Petrolicia ahead in AM now, bearing in mind that there may well be some sort of penalty coming with the team manager up in race control. So Pampanini passes Pret, and up front there is De Martin ahead of Licia. Maserati's now third, fourth, fifth. So it's 2-3 Mercedes at the front, the pair, and then 3 Maseratis all queuing up behind. With right now Petrolicia the leader of that AM class, and he's closing on Alberto De Martin.
Someone else closing, Lawrence Tomlinson, fastest Sector 1, purple Sector 1. And not being rude, but I've not said that about Lawrence Tomlinson for some time, so showing the pace of that Ginetta, dust getting kicked up. And here is that Ginetta looming as the Mercedes seems to be holding up. This is the car on the move, fastest lap for the boss of Ginetta, Lawrence Tomlinson. And I think this car is going to be very quick in the hands of his son, Freddie, as well. So although this car down in 7th after that incident at turn 2 with the KTM spin in front, I think we shouldn't rule that car out for a very strong result.
Yeah, when Freddie Tomlinson started in Ginetta Juniors, he was good for the parts business, but he was a bit wild, and he's calmed down a lot, and he's got a lot faster, and has been good in LMP3 of late. That hasn't exclusively raced Ginettas. There, Pampanini seems to struggle a bit with turn 1. Look down from the drone, that very nearly goes atop the Philippe Pret Maserati, but that gap had come down a little bit. So Pampanini seemed to not get the drive off turn 1. Philippe Pret catching back up, and where has Delatraz got to? He was with them in 5th place, but he's fallen quite a long way back, it seems now.
Yeah, everyone, it's messy, isn't it? And everyone's tripping over themselves. These cars are hard to drive because they are high power, low grip, and that is the difficulty with then consistency there. I still think maybe this number 1 car is the quickest car over a lap, but he's in 4th place. And Pampanini has strong pace at times, so does Petrolisa. And De Martin just seems to be able to hold them up in the slow corners and then get gone in a straight. Will he be able to do that to the similar Mercedes behind, run by a different team, but obviously a very similar setup in those Mercedes GT2s?
There is Jean-Denis Delatraz still getting his head around the Maserati, but pressing on. He's staying just about in touch. I think he's caught back up a little bit, in fact, on this lap. And then in 6th place, Otto Blank, who's another newcomer to the championship. He's racing the Ferrari Challenge. He's raced in the Endurance Porsche Series in Germany, now trying something different. He's got Pierre Caffer with him. Now, this is interesting because normally when Caffer has been in the championship, he's with Michael Doppelmayr, who has not been that rapid, and often they lose a lap. Whereas here, Blank is keeping the car in the mix. So Pierre Caffer for stint 2, he could be the real dark horse. Yeah,
that's a fair shout as well, and the Audi looming in the background. So all the manufacturers well represented here. It's really just the KTM starting to lose touch, but that has Freymuth in the Lambo tucked up behind him.
Now behind, Lawrence Tomlinson has now done the fastest lap of the race, so he is closing. He lost time, remember, by having to take evasive action at the start, and there Pampanini and Pret oh so nearly come to blows. Very tight indeed as Pampanini took the line for the corner, but there wasn't much in it there, was there? Pret was just about at his nose on the inside, couldn't disappear, but contact was avoided at least.
Yeah, and Ortelli, the coach there to Philip Pret, I think will be on the radio just saying, stop having all these little looks. We've done this 3 laps in a row now. You're just confusing matters. Pampanini is getting bored of you crying wolf, but not getting bored of that big power slide for Philip Pret coming out of turn 4. But at the moment, Pret needs to steady the ship. You can see the lap time difference between the 2 cars. It has ebbed and flowed massively, hasn't it? Over 1.1 seconds one lap, then down to 600ths on a lap 2 later. So Pret's got the pace, just needs to work out where to overtake.
So the race leaders then attack lap 5. And that's KTM in strife, and that, I think, again, off the road, is Marius Eigner, who spun at the first corner, and he's still having dramas, isn't he?
Yeah, car looking difficult to drive and running all the way through the gravel trap on the exit of turn 5 there. He now drops to 9th place, and here we get the replay. He's coming way hot there, either missed his braking spot or not broke hard enough, and flies through the gravel trap, keeps out the wall luckily, and will just escape with probably a 7 or 8 second time loss. It's actually now Pampanini on the front foot, out the 2 Maseratis. But again, you'll see the Mercedes stretch the legs, and it's really hard for the Maseratis to work out where best to overtake. We saw Pampanini get past that Mercedes Petrolisa, didn't we, around the outside, T11, T12, 3 or 4 laps ago. So that's probably going to be his go-to overtaking spot, but that's towards the end of the lap, so he's got to follow these cars for the next 2 sectors.
Tell you what, the second stint's building up nicely, isn't it? With a quick Freddie Tomlinson, a very quick Pierre Caffer, and an always quick Philippe Pret staying in the car. There's quite a lot that's going to shake out. And Nil Montserrat, who's going to take over the leading Mercedes AMG, he was a very quick single-seater racer many years ago. We've said before this season he got as far as Formula Renault 3.5. So, you know, he went to a good high level in single-seater racing. There's quite a lot to look forward to in the second part of the race.
Yeah, and that's whether these tyres last, because everyone is giving it their all, sitting hard in the traction of these cars. Here we get another illustration of the time game for Lawrence Tomlinson there, 1.4, 1.2, and nearly 4 tenths quicker than Otto Blank in the Audi. And Otto Blank is catching the lead 5 cars as well. So everything condensing to give us potentially 7 cars running very closely in the next 2 to 3 laps.
And is finally Alberto Di Martin just edging away. It was only half a second when he came across the line, as there Pampanini brakes late. We were in the wet last year here with Mauro Calamia, but Alberto Di Martin, well, if he is getting away, it's only by millimetres.
He's going to get away by 26 seconds in a second, because the 294 has a pit lane penalty. It's got to do a drive-through, and that is 26 seconds here at Barcelona. It looks like Petrolisa's going to do it now.
Yeah, gets the message, so Petrolisa comes in, and a drive-through penalty. It may have been for crossing the white line, it may have been for leaving the pit lane before the green light went on, but either way there was a infringement on his way to the grid. And down the pit road then comes then Petrolisa. And that's another quick driver now having to play catch-up. And it's a long, long, long pit lane. Here he is crawling down it. This is the walk of shame, really, isn't it?
Yeah, it really is. 369 metres at 50 kilometres an hour, 26 seconds, like I said. So it's going to drop them all the way. Is it going to drop them just behind the KTM? It's going to be close to that car. They'll be praying for a safety car so they can try to close that gap if they get a chance.
So there is Pirelli then back on track. We'll try and unravel why there was that penalty, but this is the race leader now with a little bit more of a margin over Roberto Pampanini, but it's still not much of one, is it?
No, it really isn't. As Mercedes look on, they'll be happy with the job they've done in the balance of performance, that's for sure, for their customers. The three Maseratis now running nose to tail. Blank catching in the Audi. Tomlinson still catching the Audi too, so it is concertinaing up, isn't it? And this accordion is making a lovely noise, and you can see the flames spit out those side exhausts on the GT2 Ginetta.
Which is the fastest car in the race thus far. Lawrence Tomlinson has done a 1:48.196 as that fastest lap. He's catching Otto Blank, who's racing in the championship for the first time. As too is Lawrence Tomlinson debuting that car. So you've got there Philippe Pret going through, and Roberto Pampanini, if he has to defend, is going to lose a little bit more time to Alberto Di Martin. But don't forget that the leading Mercedes has to serve an extra 10 seconds in the pit lane. So that's going to swing the advantage back towards Calamia. There's the flame coming out of the side of the V8 supercharged Ginetta. Awesome bit of kit, that.
Yeah, lovely. And former Le Mans winner as well, Tomlinson, so great pedigree.
Yeah.
And has done so much for motorsport. British motorsport maybe wouldn't survive without Ginetta. Some of the grids they've created, and owner of Blyton International Raceway as well. So teams able to test their cars quite readily as well, which is a good thing to have for sure. And yeah, Pret all over the back of Pampanini again. We saw him drop back for a few laps. Was that just to get a bit of clear air, or was that him just struggling, looking after the tyre? Every lap we see Pret through turn 4, that car is leaving a set of 11s out the rear, and these tyres will not get changed in the pit stop. So there is some tyre management need to be doing with these hugely powerful GT cars.
Right, so up front it is Alberto Di Martin, the race leader, 0.8 of a second to the good. Now, last time around, Roberto Pampanini did the fastest lap of the race, so that's taking it away from the Ginetta, and it brings then Pampanini's pace into the equation as well now. That car quite often has been a slow burn, hasn't it? You know, we've talked in the past about Pampanini almost at the end of his stint suddenly coming alive, and it's happening again here. He's pressing on, and he's getting closer and closer and closer to the back of Alberto Di Martin, the race leader. So Pampanini, fastest man on track, and Philippe Pret going with him. There's not much to choose, only hundreds in terms of a lap time between those cars. So Philippe Pret in third place, also still very much in the hunt. He, though, will have the longest pit stop of anybody, 14 extra seconds to serve when that car comes in. Pit window 25 to 35 minutes. So the leader goes by, and Alberto Di Martin now is ahead by 0.8 of a second. That's probably the greatest it's been all race from memory. And then Pampanini to Pret, just 0.2 of a second as they go through as well. And there, Pret, again, has a look on the inside, but he doesn't really commit to that, does he? He's rather hoping almost that Pampanini gets out of his way.
Yeah, not even half looks anymore. They're quarter looks, 1/8 looks, and so on. And
glimpses.
Glimpses, that's a nicer way of phrasing it, rather than my bad fractions. 9 out of 7 people can't do fractions, and I'm one of them, as they thunder into turn 4, and the Mercedes starting to pull away.
On this, the 9th lap of the race. Pampanini then, fastest lap of the race already achieved, but now, without having to defend, Alberto Di Martin doesn't only have a gap, he's also done the absolute best first sector. So now, finally, it looks like Alberto Di Martin doesn't have to look behind. He can put his head down, look ahead, and try and build that gap. Pirelli, in the meantime, in last place, trying to play catch-up, but he is now half a minute away from the leading cars, and still on his regulation pit stop has to serve 5 extra seconds in there.
Yeah, and it's 9 minutes until the pit window opens. It's open for 10 minutes, so there's quite a wide range of time to come in. Here comes the Ginetta, nearly under a second now off that Audi, who is reeling in Delatraz, who's dropped 2 seconds off the back of this car, Philippe Pret.
So Pret's still leading his class. He's the leading AM from Jean-Denis Delatraz. And that's another Le Mans class winner, like Lawrence Tomlinson, of course, Jean-Denis Delatraz, we've got in the race, coming up towards the line. So it's a quality field, even if it's not vast in terms of numbers. Past the line goes Alberto Di Martin, the Spanish driver, looking for a win on home soil. Very much the local team, this. They're based just around the corner as the Nil Montserrat-run Mercedes-AMG leads the way. Pampinini second and Pret third. Delatraz fourth. And then Delatraz to Blanc now. That gap 1.3 seconds. And Blanc to Tomlinson is 9/10. So there's another little battle developing, is there not, for fourth and fifth and sixth places right now. There they are.
Yeah, I think the Ginetta, if it could clear the Audi and then the Delatraz Maserati, would be on the leading pace and looking phenomenally poised, isn't it? And if you are a driver looking for a car next year, suddenly this Ginetta is a real contender alongside the Mercedes, the Maserati, the Audi, the Lambo and the KTM GT2, starting to get the manufacturers it deserves.
Yeah, that Maserati certainly has captured attention. We've had in the past more Audis. We've had, of course, going back a few years, Porsche on the grid. We've had the Brabham. So there's been a real spread of manufacturers over the seasons of the GT2 European Series. Ginetta now joins in as well, and there Freddie Tomlinson gets set to get on board when we get to the pit stop. The car being operated this weekend by the CMR team, Classic Modern Racing, which has been a prolific GT team in GT2, GT3, GT4, you name it, as well as historic. Now that lead gap has come right down. So having suggested that Alberto Di Martin might be getting away, think again, the gap right down, and Pampinini crawling all over the back of him, heading up towards now turn 12.
Yeah, the last laps have really gone away from the Mercedes. Is that the tyres, the brakes, the driver going off? It doesn't matter. Suddenly this battle reignites into a very tight three-car battle.
Yeah, Di Martin has done the best of anybody in the first sector in the race. Then Pampinini has done the best middle sector of the race, and Philippe Pret the best third sector, not all on the same lap, but interesting that different drivers have their different strengths across that lap. It might be down to traffic, it might be down to car, it might be down to bravery, but there's no one driver looking dominant, and that's why we've still got the leading three covered by 0.8 of a second after 10 laps, and that's good going.
Yep, and it was 0.4 gained for these Maserati pair on Di Martin on that last lap, and actually Delatraz really starting to drop off. He was 0.4 slower the other way, so yep, the fourth place car now 2.5 seconds back, second in class still, but dropping off the lead battle. As
again, the concertina effect continues between Di Martin in the lead and Pampinini in second place, and we're getting closer to that pit window as again Pampinini tries the attack, stretches the margin over Pret, but can't do anything about Di Martin, so he's going to get stuck, and that'll bring Pret back into the game then. The Spanish driver ahead of the Italian Roberto Pampinini, then Pret in third as they make that run again up towards turn 9. For fourth, still, it's Delatraz. He's not yet been caught by Blanc, but he has dropped off the back of Pret, hasn't he?
Yeah, he seems to be struggling to keep up the pace. This is where we saw the Maserati looking strong on the exit of this next hairpin. The Mercedes seems to struggle to get all that power down. Are we going to see a similar story here? Looks better this time. The gap closes, but not enough to allow that gold Maserati to get a look in. We're now getting ever closer to the pit window. 3 more laps until they'll be able to pit. The teams will be communicating that, asking the driver, are you getting held up? If so, that's box early. But if the other car comes in, then you lose that. So you'll sometimes get the call from the team, box opposite. So do the opposite to whatever the car in front of you does.
Race leaders go by as the NM Racing team looks on. Nil Montserrat there in the cap, ready to take over that car, but also trying to assess where they are going to be. Remember, they've got an extra 10 seconds to serve as there. Up the inside, looks Pampinini. Contact is made as he tries to switch sides. Pret will go second coming out of turn 1, and that was all a bit clumsy. Pampinini realised it wasn't going to work on the inside, tried to go to the outside and avoid, but then there was contact, and it is the race lead car that has got the damage. Now, is that largely cosmetic? Well, certainly Pret goes through into the race lead. Pampinini has been a bit delayed out of all of that as well. So Alberto Di Martin loses the lead, but is that bodywork, as I say, cosmetic, or has it done much to really damage the car?
90% cosmetic, 10% performance. It would get the mechanical warning flag at some point, but I think they'll be able to box and address it in their mandatory pit stop. It's the diffuser flapping. They want to get some tape on it. Montserrat there telling the team to be ready for it. I'm surprised he isn't ready himself. 4 minutes he could be in the car, and it just looked like Pampanini misjudged the closing distance, didn't he? Too late on the brakes, trying to get out of it, and then it was the slightest of contacts, and the Maserati getting away lightly with the damage, it would seem, and the Mercedes rear bumper and diffuser taking the brunt of that hit, and the awkwardness continues, and that's the problem. You just hit the car in front. How do you address this? And it looks like Pampanini getting on the front foot. That car had a difficult Valencia with Pampanini's teammate getting stuck in the gravel after hitting the wall as well. So not the easiest last couple of rounds, and the bonnet starting to lift on that Goals Maserati.
But you're right, we're only 3 minutes or so away from that pit window opening, so any running repairs can be done. Then, looking out of our window, there's no suggestion of the meatball flag, the mechanical warning flag for the flapping bodywork, at least yet, for Alberto de Martin. So Philippe Pret now has the lead of the race, and he needs to be 14 seconds clear of Pampanini to hang on to it, because that Mercedes will have to serve an extra 10. So Pampanini still has the advantage, barring anything that the stewards may want to do. I mean, you could argue that was a racing incident, but you could also argue that Pampanini did cause a collision.
Yeah, there's a few €1,000 worth of damage as well to the innocent de Martin, so I think maybe a 10-second penalty is somewhere in the realms of fairness for Pampanini. It wasn't malicious, but it was a mistake nevertheless. And
it's been noted by race control. We'll keep you posted.
Yeah, Philippe Pret, the man has got some luck, hasn't he? Yes, he's very fast. Yes, he's oh my God, that was closing speed again. But he's like the dictator. He can just get whatever he does. He was struggling in 4th place. Petrolisa drive through up to 3rd. And then Pampanini fires into de Martin and inherits the lead. And now he's finally got the free space to check out. 1.3 seconds now, the gap to the slightly damaged Mercedes. You can see the bodywork there. And my guess would be that's 2 to 3 tenths of a second time loss for the Mercedes in the damage.
And if it doesn't fall off, they're not going to tape all of that up. They'll rip off what they can and try and tape down what's left. But there is now a bottleneck, isn't there? Because, look, Delatraz has caught up onto the rather stuck Pampanini. There's the cork in the bottle, the Mercedes. So right back into the game is Delatraz. And he's now brought Otto Blank with him. And Lawrence Tomlinson in 6th place in the Ginetta is almost there. Lawrence going great guns now. He did have the fastest lap of the race early on, but recovering after a gravelly moment in avoidance of Marius Eigner, he's back in the mix. The leaders come through. There is 1 minute and 26 before the window, and a lap is 1 minute and 48. So some of these will be in next time to put the quicker driver in, as well as to do repairs.
Yeah, and I think they'll all pit next lap. Maybe Philippe Pret will stay out just to try and use this clear track advantage, but I can't see any of the cars in this battle from 2nd all the way to 6th now staying out, so expect a relatively busy pit lane at the end of this lap.
You touched on Petrolisa a moment ago in terms of that drive-through. He's got himself back up into 7th, so the leading 6 pretty much all in the line here, but then the next one is Petrolisa, who is quite a long way back in relative terms, having got himself up past Oliver Freimuth. He's still half a minute or so away from the race leader and has to serve an extra 5 seconds on the pit stop. So it's going to put some of the pressure on Andres Rokosh, his co-driver, as Delatraz looks to the inside and gets it wrong and goes deep into the corner.
Oh, that was so close. You could see the shadow from Pampanini's car go over the front of Delatraz's Maserati. That must have been a cigarette paper thickness between the two cars, and these cars again so powerful, but you miss your braking point by a meter and it's gone forever, and you get hard into the ABS and suddenly the car loses braking efficiency, and that's what's happened to Pampanini, and he nearly got rear-ended in a similar sort of incident.
So drama there, as now Delatraz again fates to the inside. Pit window is open, so the teams will be on their toes, and as far as the NM Racing team is concerned, sticky tape at the ready. Pampanini, though, having had a real yo-yo sort of a race, gaining places, losing places, triggering damage. Lawrence Tomlinson has caught up, but interesting, he's kind of got a bit stuck, hasn't he? Having been able to get back up onto terms with that leading line, he's never been able to attack. Pret stays out, in comes de Martin, in comes Pampanini, in comes Blank, in comes Tomlinson. Delatraz stays out, and Pret stays out. So that now brings Delatraz up into 2nd place, and the margin between Pret and Delatraz as they go across the timing line, 4 seconds.
Yeah, looked like a good pit entry for Lawrence Tomlinson there, closing the gap on the cars in front. And what are the NM Racing team going to do? Is it tape? Is it going to be ripping it? They're going to assess it, and I think it's got to be the ripping off option. It's just too loose to try and tape it down to anything.
Yeah, they're having a look, and the scrutineers will probably have a look as well and say that's got to be done, or yeah, you can discuss RIP. A bit of fuel going into the Mercedes, you can see. Lawrence Tomlinson has done. Freddie gets in. Dad walked away. None of this handing over and doing the seatbelts lark. And the Mercedes then is sitting in the pit lane.
Yeah, they can't touch it while they're fueling. Interestingly, Ginetta not fueling, so fuel efficient, or they fueled it heavy from the start. Everyone else is adding fuel. If they're adding fuel, you can't touch the car, can't do a driver change. So that's why the NM team not doing anything yet. You can see the fuel churn attached, released now. Now they can get to work. And
this is where the driver change happens for Neil Montserrat to dive in. And in danger of making more damage there, aren't they? Because as they attack the rear valance of the car, it gets further dislodged. But you can see there the scrutineer with the SRO shirt on, making sure that the car is safe when it goes out. Rip as much off as you can, tape up what's left. But a lot of tape. What they don't need is another pit stop for that to be addressed. And you can see the tape having to go on the front of the Maserati, the headlight dislodged there. Yeah, the end of season tape budget is obviously wearing thin. Just the 2 bits. That headlight looks like it wants to go all the way in. I've finally found some more money, up to 3 bits of tape now on the headlight. The headlight not needed in this race, so if it were fully taped, that would be a problem. But yeah, the SRO scrutineer overlooking the repairs. I think the NM team have done a good job of picking the main part of that scab, now just taping it back up. Whereas that's the front of the Maserati. We talked about the bonnet lifting, but they don't look like the biggest and most heavy-duty bits of tape. We'll see whether that becomes a problem with the remaining half an hour. That contact now is being investigated, so it's gone from noted to investigate. And I'm sure it was a racing incident. It was a pure mistake on the part of Pampanini, but it's being looked at now by race control, and the car blasts back down the pit road. So this ought to put the Maserati into the lead of the race. It does, but the big winner, look, is now Pierre Caffer, because the Audi is up into 2nd place. This is Caffer's race to win, isn't it? It really is, isn't it? The NM Motorsport Mercedes had 10 seconds longer in the pit stop, so that's why that car has shuffled behind all the others. So now it's down to Montserrat to try and catch Freddie Tomlinson, Caffer and Clamier. And there, look, is still, with bodywork and taper flapping, the Mercedes. So there's another big bit there that was fine in the pit lane. As soon as the air gets underneath it, it lifts like a little flap to one side. So Neil Montserrat's going to have a tough time in all of this. So Philippe Pret leads on the road from Jean-Denis Delatraz, but the one to watch now is going to be 88 Pierre Caffer into the Otto Blank Audi. Pierre Caffer, former Audi factory driver in not only the DTM, but in the sports car ranks in the days of the Intercontinental Le Mans Challenge, for example, and European Le Mans Series, or as it then was, the Le Mans Endurance Series. He is going to be an absolute weapon in this. He really, isn't it? Just looking at the pit stop times there, and Clamier 1/10 of a second under the minimum time. In GT4, they get the 1 second joker, but I don't believe that's a regulation in GT2, so potentially a penalty for the 5th place Clamier car. He lit up the tyres, didn't he, as he accelerated away, and there's also that incident being looked at anyway, so it might all be unravelling then for Clamier and Pampanini. This is their car, Mara Clamier out the wheel of it. There is Pierre Caffer. So the Audi, one of the older GT2 shapes, but still competitive in the right hand. And Pierre Caffer, we know, absolutely flies. There's Freddie Tomlinson, and he's going to be fascinating to watch in this stint as well. Yeah, taking over from his father, did a mega job, Lawrence, and you could see how sprightly he was getting out of the car. Age is but a number to Lawrence, and Freddie now the youngest of the Tomlinson family that races. His 3 sisters all racing as well, and it's been a phenomenal story for the Tomlinsons since they took over Ginetta, how they've transformed it. The bodywork still flapping. I think that's okay. It's a lightweight piece of trim, essentially, isn't it? But it is unpeeling itself. And Pampanini and now Clamier, a drive-through for causing a collision. So Mara Clamier, irrespective of his pit stop time, is going to have a drive-through for causing a collision. There's confirmation, and that's going to put Pierre Caffer effectively into the lead of the race. Jean-Denis Delatraz staying out then, inherits the lead now. Pret pits, and he's got 14 seconds extra to serve. So it's calamity for Clamier right now. The drive-through is going to cost them the lead. Yeah, I wonder if there's still another penalty looming, yeah, you might be right, with the pit stop being too short. So this penalty, not Clamier's fault, it was his teammate Pampanini that went in the back of the Mercedes of De Martin. That Mercedes bodywork is getting worse as the air gets underneath and effectively rips open the rear bumper. So we're not suggesting it was malicious on the part of Pampanini, but you could argue it was a little bit clumsy, and the net result, the stewards say, is that there's a penalty for causing a collision. However it was caused, a collision was caused. So leading on the road, but with a drive-through to serve, and we've seen the effects of a drive-through. It was the best part of half a minute, wasn't it, that Pirelli lost.
Yeah, Philip Pret pits from the lead, and he's got a long pit stop because of his success. So an extra 14 seconds to go. He can't cross till he's done 160 seconds. So 20 seconds from now, as Calamia pits for this drive-through penalty. So he'll be pretty close to Philip Pret actually once he gets released.
Yeah, wants to get that out of the way, doesn't he, as the cars go through. So Jean-Denis Delatraz leads the way. Don't forget who he's going to hand over that leading car to. It's Stéphane Rattel. So that's going to be interesting to see how that goes in that second stint of the race. They're also an AM category entry as well, Delatraz and Stéphane Rattel. Down the pit lane and back onto the circuit there, you can see Philippe Pret, the AM champion for this year. Accelerates up through turn one. He pitted as the race leader, so now we'll see after the pit stops have all unwound exactly where he is going to be. Neil Montserrat's done an absolute best in the first sector, and have a guess who's done the new fastest lap of the race. Pierre Caffer, correct, well said. It was inevitable, wasn't it, given how rapid Pierre Caffer is. He, with respect to the others, has raced at a very high level for a long, long time, so he's perhaps the driver you would expect to be quickest. That said, Freddie Tomlinson is only a couple of tenths shy, but Pierre Caffer on a mission as Jean-Denis Delatraz brings the AM leading car into the pit lane.
Yeah, and we'll hand over to Stéphane Rattel, as you said. So great for Stéphane to get out there once more in his own championship to see how the product is. And this Maserati GT2, one of the prettiest cars, I think, to ever hit a racetrack. Very aggressive in its styling, as is the Audi R8, and Audi obviously currently represented in all three SRO GT categories. That was easy for me to say off my ninth attempt and that bit. GT4,
that was Joe Osborne who died today.
GT4, GT3, and here's a GT2 category car of the Audi R8.
So they've got one in GT2, one in GT3 and one in GT4. Is that what you're trying to... Yeah. Over the line, then goes now Pierre Caffer into the lead of the race. Jean-Denis Delatraz gives way to Stéphane Rattel. Jean-Denis' son Louis, of course, a real star in LMP2 prototypes these days. So Pierre Caffer, a 1:46.8 as the fastest lap. Freddie Tomlinson and Neil Montserrat sharing absolute best sectors with him. So you've got a really fired up Montserrat. I would suggest that damage is as bad now as it was before the pit stop, and the scrutineers are going to keep an eye on that, aren't they? Because once the air gets to that bodywork, it's only going to keep on peeling back. It's never going to improve.
Yeah, and if it does come off, it's a large piece of bodywork to be sat on the track, and that would be the main reasoning to bring that car in. Has a gap behind it at the moment, but the scrutineers, I think, will be right on the cusp. If it peels back any more than halfway across that rear bumper, I think they're going to have to box it, because then it is probably a matter of time when it would fall off.
So Pierre Caffer, I think I said when he got in the car, it was his race to win. Here he is in the lead, and he's 3.5 seconds already up the road from Freddie Tomlinson. So going really nicely here is Pierre Caffer. Michael Doppelmayr, with whom he used to race in GT2, was not the fastest of drivers with respect to him. And so quite often, the car, if it fell off the lead lap, it was gone. If there was a safety car in the first stint to keep Michael on the lead lap, then it was all well and good, but that didn't often happen. Here, Pierre Caffer has a competitive chance to win the race, and he's grabbing that with both hands, isn't he?
Yeah, and where will Stéphane Rattel go out on circuit? Will be leaving very shortly. In the next 3 to 4 seconds, he should be released into the fast lane, and then our pit leader versus the Audi here coming through the last corner has got momentum down this long straight. Now Stéphane Rattel gets going there right on pit exit. There's the shot, but the speed delta at the moment is over 200 kilometers an hour now, and that's why the Audi blasts through. And the Ginetta, it's going to be nip and tuck between Stéphane Rattel and Montserrat in that Mercedes by the end of sector 1.
It is indeed the the Maserati, I should say, there can't cross that white line. Stéphane obeys the regulation, goes then ahead of the Mercedes AMG up through turn 2. Stéphane getting himself up to speed. Montserrat already up to speed. He's been in for 2 or 3 laps now. And not only that, he's all fired up as well. So there, Pierre Caffer then leads the way now by 3.4 seconds. Last time, in fact, Freddie Tomlinson was fractionally quicker than was Pierre Caffer. So there's a good battle developing here.
Yep, and the progress bar on your timing tower showing what a good race it's been for Blank and Caffer. They started last, now up to first. Every car overtaken, and a car trying to overtake now is this 115 Mercedes.
And there you can see the damage. So that whole rear valance is starting to dislodge, isn't it? As the air gets to it, it starts to peel it back. It's going to fall off sooner or later. So Neil Montserrat does press on, and are the scrutineers going to say, no, enough's enough, we need that in? You either take it off or you've got to patch it up properly, or are they prepared to let it go for another 23.5 minutes? Discuss.
Are the scrutineers worried about their boss following that car,
yeah, quite,
rating their work? That's an interesting dynamic for those scrutineers to worry about.
Just saw Jean-Denis Delatraz walking away. Jean-Denis, who in the UOP shadow top that he was wearing, has done some historic Grand Prix car racing of late. But Pierre Caffer then here presses on. He accelerates again down through turn 14. He came through the single-seater ranks, through Formula Ford, Formula Opel as it was then, into Formula 3, then to sports cars, to the DTM. He's been a regular sports car racer since, not just for Audi, but also for Ferrari on occasions as well. Very, very experienced. Now, though, the fastest lap of the race has been done by Mauro Calamia, who has done a 1:46.4 in the Maserati in 6th place. And another car to watch, we haven't really touched on this, but after the dramas early on for Marius Eigner, we've now got last year's champion Reinhard Koffler in that car, and Koffler's going to be quick as well. I'm not suggesting he can make up all the lost time, but it'll be interesting to see exactly what he can do.
Yeah, the Ginetta 9/10 quicker on the last lap in 2nd place, so that gap's come down to 2.5 seconds. So Freddie Tomlinson's pace looking strong as well. So the lovely nature of GT racing, you change drivers and you get a completely different flow in this second half of the race.
So that's the leader, Pierre Caffer, and there's the chasing Freddie Tomlinson in 2nd place. That gap, as Joe says, 2.5 seconds last time around. And in terms of the last 3 laps, that is how the lap times have been. The 17th lap of the race, it was advantage Audi. The last 2 laps have been advantage Ginetta, and if it carries on at that pace in another couple of laps, they will be together. The race vision powered by AWS graphic explaining just how rapidly Freddie Tomlinson is going. But Pierre Caffer might be able to turn up the wick, and if he feels he needs to push on, then he might be able to stretch the advantage just a little bit more.
Yeah, almost a very un-Yorkshireman tactic of flashing the headlights from Freddie there in the Ginetta. And phenomenal car to look at. It's beautiful, but the cutaway on the front wheel arch allows you to see so much of the front tyre. You can see him working the wheel away with the oversteer. It's a beautiful car and beautiful sounding, and I love what Ginetta have done with the flames as well, the engine mapping, I'm sure on purpose to create some drama.
Let's hope we have a few more on the grid next year. As over the line then goes Freddie Tomlinson, the gap up again, 2.8 seconds. So that time Caffer does respond. Goes now through turns 1 and 2, rides the curb. Freddie Tomlinson, who inevitably came out of Ginetta Junior Racing into British GT. He's been off racing in the Le Mans Cup for a little spell, but right now hunting down Pierre Caffer. Still just under 21 minutes to go. Caffer has not escaped up the road, has he?
No, and we're seeing the second phase now, aren't we, of the tyre for these drivers. They would have bled the pressures in the pit stop from the first drivers, and now we're just starting to see where the cars are stabilising pace-wise. And the Ginetta seems very good on its feet, doesn't it? The Audi seems a bit heavier, a bit more cumbersome. Is that going to be the story? Is that going to work the tyre harder for the Audi versus this flame-spitting Ginetta?
Yeah, massive diffuser on the back of it, though. The car goes up through turn 8. Freddie Tomlinson wringing its neck on this lap. He was fractionally faster in sector 1. They're coming to the end of sector 2 out of 9, and the sector ends just on the approach to turn 10 here. So into the corner goes Pierre Caffer, and in that middle sector the gap between them is up again. So the Audi just stretching the advantage slightly. The Ginetta squirming as in comes the power. Freddie Tomlinson hustling on. And don't forget, this car was badly delayed on that first lap of the race. So they've regrouped well. Yeah, okay, I know others have had those pit stop times to serve, the compensation times, but even so, it's been a good effort, this.
Really has, yeah. It must have lost 5-6 seconds on lap 1, avoiding the spinning KTM. So that would have been a frustration, what could have been potentially there as they crossed the line again. Caffer has steadied the ship pace-wise. Still a 1/10.5 to the Ginetta on that last lap, but the gap seems to stay 2.5 to 3 seconds, doesn't it, at the moment?
Yeah, as they're going down through turn 1, it's Freddie Tomlinson. The gap last time, 2.7, so it was a faster lap by the Ginetta, and indeed the Ginetta's best lap of the race. So Tomlinson is really pushing. The closer he gets, the more motivated he gets.
Yep, he'll be G'd up, and Cuffer will be starting to check his mirrors just to see where the Ginetta's gaining. It's very strong in Sector 1, the Ginetta, although this lap actually loses time to the Audi. The Audi's been better in this middle sector, and then Sector 3 for the Ginetta, but they're very equally matched on their performance, it seems, where we saw the Maserati slow in the straight, fast in the corner, and the Mercedes the opposite. The Audi and this Ginetta seem to be pretty similar in their strengths and weaknesses.
There is the Ginetta, spit of flame coming out of the side of the car, and Freddie Tomlinson in second. Now the other one to watch in all of this is Neil Montserrat, whose last lap wasn't quite as quick, but he's not a million miles away, and he is now 9.3 seconds. There is the slow motion camera showing live the Ginetta going up towards turn 9, so you can have a look at how the car is on this lap.
If a slow-mo's live, have we slowed down our life then? I'm lost with that. But the 8 cylinders there, you can see the flames exiting as it's on the overrun. Beautiful slow-mo of the flames. And that's what a race car should be about, pure emotion.
Yeah, it's been a race full of talking points, this. And, of course, one came even before the start. The pole position car not getting into the race. So, assuming that the KTM of Marionech and Hommler is fit for tomorrow, that's going to be another aspect to keep an eye on. So Caffer goes through, Tomlinson's second, and the margin is up to 3 seconds that time around. Pierre Caffer just stretches the margin a little bit. There is Reinhard Koffler, last year's champion, having taken over from logistics magnate Marius Eigner in the KTM. Koffler now in 7th place, but 12.5 seconds back from Calamia. So I don't think they're going to get much higher up the order. The 2 offs early on rather have gone against them, haven't they?
Yeah, showing this interesting looking KTM. It's had a difficult year across the board, really. Reliability issues hurting this car, and it seems like the development maybe from KTM's financial troubles is starting to hurt the program. But good to get another set of drivers in this car, and a nice bold livery as well, easy to spot.
Yeah, and it's the only KTM in the race. One didn't start, but after many, many seasons of, you know, sometimes 4 or 5 KTMs, now we're down to just 1. And does that mean as well for the GT2 category that people are now going to look elsewhere, like Ginetta, like Maserati, to what you might call conventional brands with a long GT pedigree in many cases? There is the recovering Calamia closing on Pret, and the margin at the start of that was 1.4 seconds. So this is for 5th place now. They're in different classes, but I think Calamia might be able to have a go here before the end. 4 positions, 16 minutes are still on the clock.
Yeah, and it's not for class, so Philip Pret probably won't defend too hard on that bit. And his focus, of course, is catching the Maserati of Stefan Rattel in front of him to get that AM class win. So
there you've got Mauro Calamia, who would outscore for the championship Montserrat, or sorry, still be ahead in the championship of Montserrat and De Martin, but the gap would be down slightly and push the fight to be second in Pro-Am into tomorrow's race. So that's the target for Calamia. It is the next car in class, in fact, the Mercedes, but he's got, as you can see, trapping in the way, namely Pret and then Stefan Rattel, who are in a different class. So Calamia has got to get past 2 cars and then catch the Mercedes to try to outscore. Well, he's going to have a go at Pret down towards turn 1, a flash on the lights to say, I'm coming, I'm coming, I'm coming. Up the inside he goes, and Calamia makes that move stick. Yeah, it was aggressively close to Pret, wasn't it? And almost, I think Pret had a second look in the mirror and realised how close he was and tried to open the wheel, and that was a bit fraught to say the least. And now Calamia going after the last of the AM class cars of Rattel, but it's going to take Pret with him, and hopefully Stefan Rattel can close the door after the gold Maserati's gone to hold on to the lead from Pret. Out of turn 4 they come then, so Pierre Caffer 2.8 seconds up the road. Stefan Rattel, who is still the lead in AM, it's between him and Pret for the class lead. If Calamia can clear Rattel, then he can set off in pursuit of Neil Montserrat for position in class. There is the top 2 to the eye. That margin has stretched, but Stefan Rattel currently leading in AM, and 14.5 minutes are on the clock. So there is the Ginetta hanging on to that second place, and the margin second to third now 8.3 seconds. So Freddie Tomlinson is not under attack, he's not under pressure. Lawrence Tomlinson looks pretty happy about life, and a good first stint. So Lawrence all smiles, and understandably so. Not a bad debut for the car, this. Freddie Tomlinson presses on. The Audi, one of the older GT2 cars, one of the original GT2 cars, still competitive in the right hands. The LP Racing car then of Pierre Caffer leads the way over the tightening line. Margin up to 3.6 seconds now, as Rattel has got Calamia right on his tail, and the change is imminent, is it not, for fourth place now as they come up towards the line.
That damaged gold Maserati seems to be okay with the two bits of tiny tape. Will it be the same move he did on Pret into turn one? Looks like he's got the momentum and will get the car stopped. Stefan Rattel staying to his line like he should. Just needs to brake slightly early now. Tuck in behind, because you need to get back up to pace Stefan to try and keep in front of Philip Pret behind.
So right now, Mara Calamia has the gap to Nil Montserrat to try to close, and we're looking at round about 12.5 seconds, give or take. So there's quite a job ahead of Calamia if he's going to be able to get up onto terms with Montserrat. Ideally, he wants to be ahead, because that's important for the championship, to try to gain points and to continue to outscore the NM Racing Team Mercedes for that second place battle in that title race. Now Stefan Rattel's life changes as well, because now he's got to defend not from Calamia's Maserati but from Pret's Maserati. Stefan Rattel now in a battle for class honours. I think the way Pret's going, it is going to be that car that finds a way through into the lead, but Stefan is going to put up a good fight, I think.
Yeah, and run from the same teams as well, hence why the livery's so similar between the two. Stefan Rattel places the car nicely on the apex curb of turn number 9. Is he going to start to defend the inside the corners? Doesn't need to intend the gap enough between the two Maseratis at the moment. Pret going in deep.
Through turn 10 they come, clock ticking on down, 12 minutes to go. They sprint now up towards the right-hander of turn 12, and Philippe Pret with a tighter line. Couldn't really commit to the inside against Rattel there, but slots back in behind as they come through 13. Really the move for turn 1 starts now, doesn't it? Be quick through 13, be brave through 14, sit on the tail, get a toe, and then make that incisive dive. But no, what were you talking about? Half-cooked lunges from earlier on. You've got to commit. We've seen the danger of what happens if you don't commit fully. There's contact, and Philippe Pret does commit. Telegraphs that early, comes out of the draft, and he will go through for position and leads Am as he accelerates his way out of turn 1, now up into 5th place overall, and Philippe Pret takes the lead of the Am class away from Stefan Rattel. Yeah,
smart from Pret there. Used track limit, I think, on the exit 13 to open up the entry to 14, so would have got a track limit warning, but was able to carry more speed and struggled to get past Pampanini in his opening stint, didn't he, in another Maserati at that time. Was a bit more forceful with his move on Mr. Stefan Rattel and takes the AM class lead.
And now we'll see whether Philippe Pret can get away. Of course, for Stefan, it's yet another new co-driver that he's got. Now, Jean-Denis Delatraz with him for this weekend, but making his championship debut as well. So nice to have Jean-Denis on the grid here, as Philippe Pret now starts to get away. The gap now then for 3rd place between Montserrat and Calamia, 12 seconds. So Mauro Calamia is pushing on, but he's got just under 11 minutes to gain 12 seconds. The last lap that Montserrat did was a 47.7, Calamia a 47.5. So it's not that big a gap, that big a difference in terms of the lap time, is it?
Yeah, Tomlinson's pace has dropped off, hasn't it? Gap now over 5 seconds. So Cava able to keep his pace there, but the Ginetta has lost another 4 tenths in that final sector of this lap. So is the tyre starting to drop off on the Ginetta, and is potentially going to have to start to looking at Montserrat if the pace keeps falling away like it is.
Yeah, Montserrat's last lap was a 48.4, so 8 tenths slower. Is this the team saying, you're not going to catch, just bring it home, we want development, we want mileage, we want data? Or, as you suggest, is the tyre dropping off, and is he genuinely unable to go any faster? Right now, the lead gap is up to 5.4 seconds as Pierre Caffer, from last on the grid, leads the way.
Yeah, balance of the Ginetta looks okay, so I think maybe it is just the team managing what's needed from young Freddie, and there's no point pushing on. If you're not going to catch him, you might as well just bring the car home in the position it is, which is a very strong second position on the car's debut.
Yeah, absolutely right, and that's perhaps the main target here. Yeah, a win would be great, but they just want to make sure that that car gives a good account of itself, is reliable. It's the best way to advertise it to customers, isn't it, to have a good result first time out. And maybe overnight they will be more interest from other teams around this car. As Freddie Tomlinson then hits the brakes, the nose dips as he comes down towards turn 10. The Garforth in Yorkshire built car accelerating up now towards turn 12, and the margin 5.4 seconds at the start of this lap. 9 minutes are on the clock. Pierre Caffer leading the way. Tomlinson second. Montserrat third, who last lap lost a second to Mauro Calamia. So that Mercedes certainly is not 100%, is it?
No, the awkward nature is it's not 100% because of the Maserati behind hitting it in the opening stint. And again, look at the marbles forming off the line. So drivers will have to worry about that if they need to go there to do their overtake on the pit straight.
Yeah, whether Neil Montserrat would have been able to hang on to the race lead had Alberto De Martin not been attacked is debatable, because they were still going to lose 10 seconds in the pits on that compensation time, and Pierre Caffer was always going to be in the mix. However, it certainly compromised the last couple of laps of Alberto De Martin before he pitted. There over the line is Calamia, so Montserrat to Calamia is down again, 9.2 seconds. I think he's going to run out of time, is Calamia, but he won't be far away at the checkered flag.
Yeah, and the KTM pace that you said about earlier looking strong. And Bob Neville there speaking with Lawrence Tomlinson, and maybe Lawrence on the aggressive pitch to the McLaren running RJN team.
Yeah, you really want one of these, Bob. You really want a GT2 program, and we can do you a deal. In fact, this one, at the end of the weekend, we could do a deal on this. You know, you'll have seen how good it's gone. So Bob Neville showing an interest, as there you can see Reinhard Koffler now getting himself onto the back of Stefan Rattel. So Stefan is 6th, Koffler is 7th. Different classes, but Koffler still doing exactly what he's being paid to be, and that's flat out.
Sends it to the inside. Stefan Rattel seen him. He does at the last minute. Smart driving by both to avoid contact. Aggressive from the KTM, but has to make that move while he can in that car, because it doesn't have the best straight line performance. So slow speed corners are its friend.
And now Koffler sets off in pursuit of Philippe Pret, and I think he's going to get that before the end, isn't he? This again illustrates just how quick that KTM is, as the cars then now turn through. And you've got Pret coming down towards turn 10. So Pret to Koffler, it's lengths rather than anything else. And those cars sprint up towards, as a sideways Rattel gets to turn 11 exit, up towards turn 12. The Maserati snapping sideways just briefly. He survived that, got away with it, but all a bit dramatic.
Yeah, and it's been a car that's been quick at times, this Lamborghini this year. So again, another option for teams to run manufacturer-wise. And Oliver Framer running solo in this, so it's a big stint alongside Philippe Pret. They're the two drivers doing this by themselves.
Yeah, Oliver Framer, who has had a class win this season, but he's at the back now with 4th in class as his potential result. The opposition has been Andre Rokosh ahead, but he's not been able to catch despite Rokosh having that earlier drive-through. So just under 6 minutes to go. Oliver Frymouth, that we've seen racing in the past in largely Renault one-make championships, but then he came through Lamborghini Super Trofeo for a spell. And now down into turn 10 he comes. Back onto the power, accelerates out the other side, and Oliver Frymouth in 9th place. Tomorrow, hopefully when we get the Marionette and Hommler KTM in the mix, and with, of course, different start drivers, those that are behind the wheel now will start tomorrow's race. It might be a different feel all round. It's going to be interesting, isn't it? Because if you put your quick driver in, the likes of Caffer and Tomlinson and Montserrat, they're going to be all out to try and build a gap for their co-drivers. And Reinhard Koffler is going to be in that equation as well. Look how close he is now to Philippe Pret. Might even be able to make a move at the end of this back straight.
Yeah, look to send it to the inside under braking. Pret covering it off though, so the KTM now needs to think, where am I going to go? Can I get to the inside on the exit of 10? This becomes the outside. We have seen the move done here earlier in the race all the way around, but deciding to tuck in, trying to claim the inside for the second part. Lovely move, the undercut done really well through turn 12.
Yeah, Reinhard Koffler, a very good single-seater racer many, many years ago, and goes through, picks up the place, and that's going to put him up into 5th overall. We've just had the gap between Montserrat and Calamia down to 6.5 seconds with 4.5 minutes on the clock. So Calamia is really pushing. You could argue, couldn't you, here, that the penalty that was served was totally appropriate, because it has put them back behind the car they attacked, and they're still having to play catch-up like Pampagnini was in that first stint. He was on the attack and trying to get close enough. So Calamia might just get there in time and be able to have a go, but the penalty appropriate in as much as it's reversed the places again, and it's also made that Maserati have to do the work after the contact earlier on. Philippe Pret's car moving around quite a lot. We've had a couple of examples in that last lap of it sliding a little bit more, so maybe tyres and drivers starting to feel a bit weary after the best part of an hour.
Yeah, it looked loose, didn't it? It looked hard work as we see our race leader now starting to have to lap cars. Oliver Freymuth there will be aware, I'm sure, of Caffer coming past him. Caffer here, luckily, nearly with 7.5 second gap, doesn't need to take any risks.
So Pierre Caffer comes then down towards the end of this lap. He's going to do so with just over 3 minutes and change on the clock. So certainly 2 more are available to him. And he is nearly 7 seconds up the road. And you never get the feeling, looking at this, that he's been stressing the car. He's built the gap, but never has he looked as though he's been having to really take it by the scruff of the neck. It's all well within the plan.
Yeah, and Freymuth not moving out the way. I haven't seen any blue flags yet in his defence, but I'm sure he has seen the hard charging Caffer behind him. Big bit of bodywork on the outside of turn 3 there. The drivers will want to be avoiding. It looks like now Caffer is down the inside and cleared that one and has now got the Mercedes of Arakosh in front.
We were talking early on in the race about the pit stop time for the number 7 Pampanini, Calami and Maserati. They were slightly under, but there is a Joker pit stop in GT2, so they were able to use that. So out of those woods, this is Philippe Pret getting close to the gravel. Super slow-mo camera picks him up as the car skims its way across the gravel, and then he tries to hustle back towards the road into turn 13, and the wheel vibrating as he rattles over the curb. And engineers in the pit lane wince, and in normal speed that doesn't look like anything at all, but slowed down to that effect. Very dramatic indeed. An open mouth Bob Neville watching all of that, thinking, gosh, that looks pretty terrifying.
Yep, and proud BRDC member Lawrence Tomlinson there with the club badge on his chest. Like we said, probably doing a deal. He cuts a mean deal, Lawrence Tomlinson. If you buy 2 cars, you get 2 cars for that price. So I'm sure that's the offer that he will be touting to the teams in this paddock.
Yeah, there is Pierre Caffer in and amongst the back markers now. He's lapped Oliver Freymuth. He's just put a lap on Andre Rokosh, and he is going to start his last lap this time. There's now less than a lap time left in the race. So really good drive this by Pierre Caffer. We know he's fast, we know he's experienced, and he will come through to start the last lap now as the Audi goes over the timing line. Through goes then Pierre Caffer. And Jean-Denis Delatraz looking very happy indeed about all of this, as is Luca Piri with the headset on at the front of shot. And Jean-Denis Delatraz with second in class with Stefan Rattel as his result. And Otto Blank is going to be a happy man as Pierre Caffer's co-driver. Interesting the way that he has clearly improved over the weekend, Otto Blank, from being slowest in qualifying. His lap times in the first stint had certainly come on, and that car set for a race win. Philippe Pret then, he's on target for class win number 9 of the season. With, in a sense, nothing to prove. He's already won the championship.
Yeah, a big skid going on somewhere. I don't know if that was the Audi in shot. Looks pretty sorry, but didn't sound it. And an amazing start. This car started last, is going to win. That's pretty amazing. It's done 0 track limit warnings as well. So a track here at Barcelona, normally quite prevalent for track limits, unless the officials are having a siesta. This car has kept it very clean.
Well, they are reset after the pit window, so we can certainly say there's nothing for Caffer. And you were right about the squeal of tyres, because there's a yellow flag now in that middle sector. And the car in question is, I think that's Oliver Freymuth, isn't it, who was on the last lap of the race, ran out of road, and that's coming out of turn 4. He's had a moment and he's off the track. So Oliver Freymuth is in the gravel bed. The race can go to the end, that's not an issue, but Oliver Freymuth is off the track. So Pierre Caffer then is on his way down towards the end of the lap, and for a first victory of the season. And what a debut for Otto Blank. First time out, and he's going to score the race win. So up to the checkered flag, up to the timing line, up to victory comes Pierre Caffer with Otto Blank, and to win in the LP Racing Audi. Really good first stint by Blank, good second stint by Pierre Caffer. Fastest lap of the race isn't going to go their way, but the race win does. So Pierre Caffer and Otto Blank, the winners. Second goes the way of Freddie Tomlinson, along with his father, Lawrence Tomlinson. And third is Neil Montserrat and Alberto Di Martin by, let's see, a second and a half over Calamia and Pampanini. So close, but not quite. And then as far as AM is concerned, it's going to be yet another win for Philippe Pret, a 9th of the season. Second in the class will be Stéphane Rattel and Jean-Denis Delatraz. And then third for André Rocoche and Petrolicia. Mike Simpson of Ginetta, Lawrence Tomlinson, the owner of Ginetta as well. They're looking very happy. And there is Oliver Freimuth's car in the gravel. The way that's come to rest almost makes it look like that rear wheel's slightly protruding, but I think it's just the lines of the car and the angle we're looking at it. But let's see what happens. The car gets sideways, and Freimuth, I think, only does spin and then just drifts into the gravel.
Yeah, he'd really caught up Rocker, shouldn't he, in that Mercedes, and was just slightly offline. And I'm sure the last thing he wants to see after that is a drone hovering 2 foot away from his face. But shows you how deep these cars get travel, because his rear left, you're right, David, a huge amount of droop in it, is fully extended, and it was just a simple mistake and just looped it around. So
there is Pierre Caffer then bringing the number 88 Audi back to the pit lane, and for the celebrations as a race winner. And Otto Blank is going to be very happy indeed as well. Otto Blank and Pierre Caffer then victorious in our first GT2 European Series powered by Pirelli race of the weekend. Lawrence Tomlinson with Sam Freddy taking second, and Alberto Di Martin and Neil Montserrat third. Roberto Pampanini and Mauro Calamia fourth. Marius Eigner and Reinhard Koffler fifth. Philippe Pret, a class-winning sixth, ahead of Jean-Denis Delatraz and Stéphane Rattel. Petrolicia eighth with André Rocoche. Oliver Freimuth not getting to the end. Lennart Marionetsch not getting to the start. So, a race that had an awful lot going on for a relatively modest entry, but lots to look at, and more of the same tomorrow. Pierre Caffer then will start in this car tomorrow, and he makes his way now down the pit lane, ready for those celebrations to get underway. And he will be joined by a very happy Otto Blank in due course. The Tomlinsons, father and son, taking second place, and Neil Montserrat and Alberto Di Martin third. Don't ask about the hats, just don't ask. So drivers being applauded as they make their way back to the pit lane. And there Pierre Caffer arrives at the stop board. Behind you've got André Rocoche bringing the third placed AM class car in as well. Freddie Tomlinson squeezes to the inside in the Ginetta. Out gets Pierre Caffer, a very happy driver indeed. And the LP Racing Audi has done a grand job for them. Might be one of the older cars in the entry, but an excellent result. Pierre Caffer with all of the experience being brought into play. Crash helmet off. And Neil Montserrat bringing the rather battle-scarred Mercedes into the Parc Fermé area in the background. So one more race to go in GT2 European Series. That is going to be tomorrow morning. And the real question now is for second in the Pro-Am Championship, where Neil Montserrat and Alberto Di Martin are still fighting with Mauro Calamia and Roberto Pampanini. Dad's found a use now. He is the go-to collector of Freddie's gloves and helmet. You see the DKR Engineering overalls that Freddie has, the team for whom he drives in Le Mans Cup, in European Le Mans Series events. And they're the Barcelona track-shaped podium that will await our drivers very shortly. The backdrop, you'll see, acts as a giant TV screen for the fans in the grandstand during the course of the race, and then is the backdrop for the sponsors once it becomes the podium. So Otto Blank, Pierre Caffer, race winners here at Barcelona. They're with Alex Le Gouy.
Yeah, hopped out all smiles, and what a race that was, boys, from last to the top step.
Yeah, it was incredible. I mean, for Otto, it was his first overall victory now, and to be back in the GT2 class, I mean, I love this class, and also with the Audi back here, it's quite amazing. And I have to say, Barcelona is one of my favorite places. So it turns out, which we never thought before.
Yeah, that first stint was phenomenal, and the Audi obviously served you well.
Yes, the Audi is really amazing. It feels great. The team did a really, really good job, and so, yes, it was really great.
Congratulations, what a way to nail your debut. Well done, boys.
So let's see what they can do tomorrow when Pierre Caffer starts, and he will try to give as big a gap to Otto Blank as possible. And Otto Blank, as you saw from his overalls, a regular initially in the European Ferrari Challenge, now spreading his wings through Porsches and into Audis, into significantly perhaps as well multi-mark GT racing. So there is the winning car, and 88 of Pierre Caffer and Otto Blank victorious. You've got to go back quite a long way to find the last Audi victory as well. So it's good to have Audi once more being victorious, and that illustrates that, because the cars are still around, they're still worth having, worth buying. Now, what about our AM winner? Philippe Pret, victorious in the class there. And again, Alex has been able to find our winner.
Well, Philippe, you did it once again, as expected. What a race that was.
Complicated, very difficult. At the beginning, it was struggling with the Mercedes, with the other Maserati. And after the pit stop, it was a little bit better.
It looked like tyre degradation was pretty tricky.
Yes, tricky. Congested.
Congratulations, well done.
A 9th win of the year for Philippe Pret, already crowned as our AM champion. And the Monaco-based driver here not only for his own racing, but to cheer on his son Louis, who is in GT World Challenge Europe Endurance Cup this weekend. They are looked after, of course, by Stefan Ortelli, very successful GT racer, Le Mans winner, and Stefan, always a big part of their racing activities. Valencia at the end of 2023 was the last time we had an Audi win. So Audi going back to the winning manufacturer slot for the first time in quite some time. So a bit of clearing up work around the circuit, with cars having gone through the gravel on the opening lap and on the last lap in the case of Oliver Freimut. There are the cars all underneath the podium. And the track very shortly is going to get busy again, because there will be the pre-qualifying session soon for the GT World Challenge Europe Endurance Cup field, and therefore the pit lane needs to be cleared and needs to be attended to, because there are going to be lots of cars coming in and out of the pit lane. But the drivers are heading up to the podium. Good job done, certainly by Pierre Caffer and Otto Blank as well in that opening stint of the race. And there in the background you can see the car that finished 4th, Mauro Calamia and Roberto Pampinini's Maserati. Not entirely sure why that car has been stopped there. Don't think there's anything else lurking in the system, and it's not in the top 3 for scrutineering purposes. But anyway, there it is. So the podium is being made ready. We need our requisite 12 drivers. 11 drivers, Philippe Pret soloist, isn't he? But he will be yet again on that top step of the AM podium. And if only we could get everybody in GT2 out all at the same time, it'd be a busy grid. We've got lots of new names even this weekend. Lots of different drivers have nipped in and out over the course of the year. Race 1 in the GT2 European Series began with a gap on pole position. They're not Marionette not making the start, and so it was Alberto Di Martin who went round the outside to grab the lead from Philippe Pret and Petrolicia through the first corners. Drama though for Marius Eigner's KTM that spun, and off the road went Lawrence Tomlinson and others in avoidance. Lawrence had a big job on his hands to get back into the mix, but he did so. Up front it was Alberto Di Martin in the lead ahead of Pret, Pampanini and Petrolisa. Lisa would get a drive-through for a pre-race pit lane infringement, although he had got the car up into second place prior to the penalty being applied. And then Philippe Pret was busy battling with Roberto Pampanini. Those two Maseratis squabbling, and Pampanini pounced on Pret as they came out of turn 5. And then there was contact between the race leaders. Pampanini got into the back of Alberto Di Martin, lost a place to Pret, who was then able to get past the delayed Mercedes and into the lead of the race outright. Eventually a drive-through penalty would go the way of the Pampanini and Calamia Maserati, and there was some taping up to be done when into the pit lane came the number 115 Mercedes AMG for Alberto Di Martin to give way to Neil Montserrat. Back on track, Montserrat was able to wriggle away past Stefan Rattel and get the car up into third place. And then on the very last lap, we had Oliver Freimuth go into the gravel as Pierre Caffer and Otto Blank from last on the grid put themselves into the lead of the race after the pit stops, and it was a lead that Pierre Caffer was never to lose. Audi winning for the first time since the end of 2023. Pierre Caffer and Otto Blank winners here in Barcelona. So the podium awaits, and the drivers in the Pro-Am category are there. You can see Otto Blank and Pierre Caffer stepping forward, and a representative of the LP Racing team. Nearest to us there, Alberto Di Martin and Neil Montserrat. The other end are Lawrence and Freddie Tomlinson, and Otto Blank and Pierre Caffer are victorious in the first race of the weekend. So national anthem then for the winning team, for Pierre Caffer and Otto Blank. Really impressive debut that from Otto Blank, and courtesy of Pirelli. The winners' trophies from Emilia Capasso, the motorsport marketing manager, and Neil Montserrat and Alberto Di Martin have the trophies. Now they go for our second place drivers, and not only a good result, but a great debut for the car. First time out for that new Ginetta G56 GT2. But the trophy for the winning team goes the way of LP Racing, and then the drivers' trophies for Pierre Caffer and for Otto Blank, up, as we've been saying, from the back of the grid. Winners' trophies for Otto and Pierre, and that is not a bad debut. I'd imagine that Otto Blank was feeling a little bit despondent yesterday after looking at his practice times, but a very happy man now, and the track time that he's had will also help. Part of that learning curve, adapting to a new car, new regulation rule set and everything else. So well done, Otto Blank and Pierre Caffer. They are the winners of our first race of the weekend, not only outright, but in Pro-Am as well. For somebody like Otto Blank, though, to have Pierre Caffer with all of his experience as a co-driver has got to be a good thing.
Yeah, it's perfect, isn't it? And that's probably why you've seen the transformation of pace, even from qualifying to the race. That would have been driver coaching overnight last night and bringing them on really, really well.
So there, the drivers all pose for the group photograph. And Otto Blank, a very happy man indeed now, as they will step down from the podium. The AM drivers await, and they're the race winners. One last photograph. Pierre Caffer, all smiles. And as far as the championship is concerned, we know that Bronek Formanek and Stefan Rossina are the winners. But for second, it is Calamia and Pamparini ahead still of Montserrat and Di Martin. The gap's narrowed a little, but not by that much. But that's still to play for in tomorrow's race. Now, Mato Homola will be fourth. We haven't got David Kajaya, nor Lucas Segu, nor Diego Locanto, nor Shotram Kazara, or Egor Orochev here this weekend. So it really is all about second place going into tomorrow's final round of the GT2 European Series powered by Pirelli. Bronek Formanek and Stefan Rossina are here this weekend, but they are racing in Lamborghini Super Trofeo, which is where they were last season. So championship already achieved, and going off to race something else for the end of the season. So there, making their way onto the podium, are Andre Rokosh and Petra Lisha. A little bit disappointed, I think, Petra, about the penalty that was incurred on the way to the grid. There is Jean-Denis Delatraz for second place. Where is Stefan Rattel? We've lost him. We do have Philippe Prat, but the LP Racing team celebrate another class win. Maybe Stefan is already dragged into meetings with customers, because normally at this time of year there are one-to-one meetings organised with different teams. So he's probably having to go back to being a promoter rather than a driver. But we have the national anthem anyway for our AM class winning team. So well done to the LP Racing team. And now the drivers of the Iron Cup winning car for the drivers, the best placed driver crew with a combined age of over 100. Mauro Calamia and Roberto Pampanini are the Iron Cup winners, so they make their way to the podium as well. Trophies are ready. And again, Emilia Capasso steps forward to make those presentations. So third for Petrolicia and Andre Rocos. Not a bad debut season, in fairness, in this series for Petrolicia. He's had a switch of car on occasions and different co-drivers, but all told, it's been a good year in the very spectacular overalls, he and Andre Rocos. We've had the trophy for Jean-Denis Delatraz and by proxy for Stefan Rattel. The team's trophy goes to LP Racing. The winner's trophy will go to Philippe Pret. The Iron Cup will go to Roberto Pampanini and Mauro Calamia. And then the teams have until tomorrow morning to do anything they need to the cars. These cars race again at 9 o'clock, just after tomorrow morning. So work done for the day, but more action to come. So the drivers all huddling together for photographs. And we'll find out in a moment whether, as gentlemen, they're going to spray the champagne or keep it. But there's nobody at the moment looking awfully keen. So the GT2 European Series powered by Pirelli back on track just after 9 o'clock tomorrow morning. We'll see you for the last race of the season.